Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Thanks everyone for joining this session on the February store release of what is new to workplace service delivery. Fun fact, we were so excited to bring this new release that we released it on January 30th. So it's actually before the month of February. We were so excited and we've got a lot of new functionality and new capabilities within this release that we're eager to show you today. So to get started, what I'm going to do is start by introducing the speakers for the session today. So myself, I am joined with Paulina from our outbound product management team, who's going to co-host this session and give you an overview of the new capabilities and features that we're releasing. And then myself, Elizabeth, I'm also part of the outbound product management team and will be leading this session today. So just before we get started, even though everything we're going to show you today is being released in May, we do want to have the safe harbor notice in case we do mention any roadmap related topics, because if we do, this is under safe harbor and might change in scope, in time on anything that we might say. So this could be if you ask a question on chat, we might respond that this is on our roadmap for a certain release, but this might change. So keep in this notice as under safe harbor. So before we get started, I just want to share that this event is actually part of the 360 Exchange, so the live on ServiceNow events, to make sure you keep up to date, that you get the latest notifications on all the webinars that we host through live on ServiceNow. I do recommend either going to community and subscribing to Workplace Service Delivery, or by scanning the QR code, which is shown on the screen, so you can get notified when we have upcoming events. And we do have a lot planned for this year in terms of new capabilities that we can show you how to implement some of these new capabilities, but also how can we share tips and tricks around best ways of using workplace service delivery. A couple of housekeeping rules. So as usual, if you're familiar with this webinar, you'll know that we do have a Q&A section at the end. If we do have time, we've got a lot to cover today, but if we do have time, we'll make sure to have a Q&A. However, if you do have questions throughout the webinar, we have multiple people on the team here. I do want to appreciate that Maria from the outbound product management team is also on the call today, so we can definitely answer questions that might come in via Q&A. So feel free to ask any question. As you do ask those questions, please introduce yourself. We do love knowing who you are and where you are at with your journey with WSD. For those who can't attend or need to drop halfway through, doesn't matter. You can catch the recording. You'll be able to get the recording later on if you want to rewatch it, if you want to share it with some of your colleagues. This will be posted on the community forum. So about a week after today, this will be posted. After the session, you will get prompted with a short survey. So this is just to understand how can we improve on our next session. So a general survey, up to 5 questions, really takes 2 minutes. We do appreciate if you could take the time to respond to that. So today's agenda, we're going to start off by having a full overview. Quite a few of you might have already seen this in terms of what has been released as a very high level of the new capabilities and enhancements we've made. And then we'll go into some deeper dives in terms of the major features, understanding what those new features are, showing you a quick demo of what they look like within an instance and the experience they can provide, as well as then continuing on to look at some of the enhancements we've made, so smaller enhancements to existing capabilities, and then we'll point you towards some available content and resources where you can learn more about this product. And then, of course, if we do have time, we'll be going into Q&A and answering some of the questions you might have. We can go through some of those live. So getting started with our February release. So the scope for this release was really to cover the experience in general. So really a big focus, not only on the employee experience, but also on the space management, and then introducing a new capability around the Now Assist, including a Gen AI capability. So with this release, we had really a major focus around the employee experience, but not only the employee, also looking broadly at the workplace experience. So this is providing maps on kiosk. So kiosk was a feature released during November, which was really focused on the employee experience of being able to have that self-service to check in, check out. Right now, we're enhancing that. We're also providing the map capability on it, where they can understand and navigate the workplace. Not only visitors will use this kiosk to interact with the map, you might have visiting employees, you might have employees that aren't familiar with the location, so having a map provided to them on the kiosk can help them navigate that location. We've also made quite a lot of enhancements in terms of the reservation experience. I won't go through them in detail here, but we'll cover them as we go through the presentation. And in terms of space planning, it's really enhancing on the tools we provide to space planners, facility managers, in ways to make sure they optimize and utilize the space they've got. So providing a way of printing maps, for instance, this was a big request from quite a few space planners, that wanted to really be able to print the map, because they do still use a lot of way of writing on maps before making any adjustments. And then enhancing also our lease administration capability. This was released 2 years back, I believe. The lease administration, what we've done here is really add more tables and ways of capturing data to make sure you can capture all your workplace contract related information within one single location. And then we're super excited for the last part of the release, which is really around the Now Assist. How have we embedded the Gen AI capability within the workplace to make sure the experience is available for employees? How can we make their lives easier? How can we remove some of the clicks in the experience they currently have? How can we really reach them and have them have a conversation with the tool to be able to take their actions? So having said that, we'll get started with a deep dive in some of these features. I do want to start with the kiosk for the indoor mapping kiosk. So this is really to provide a way for visitors, but also visiting employees or employees, a way to visualize the layout of the organization as they walk up to the kiosk. So they can walk up to the kiosk, check in. They might require a host, in which case that host would come up to the kiosk. But in some cases, if you have a contractor who's coming in once a week or 3 times a month, they might not need a host, but they need to get work done within the organization, so they need to understand where to go. So really providing them with a map view, which is really similar to what we've got on the location directory, of being able to really understand where they're located. So where's the kiosk physically located within the building, and then being able to get directions to a specific location, search for a specific room, and then be able to use a certain amount of filter capabilities to be able to really find the space they're looking for. Sorry, so I think what the best part for this would be for me to show you with an instance what this experience will look like. So I'll just stop sharing the screen and share the screen to show you what the experience looks like directly within the instance. So right now I'm looking at the kiosk mode. So kiosk, as a reminder, this is a web browser. So this can be shown on any screen within your organization. This could be an iPad, this could be an Android, this could be a much larger device, anything that can be tactile that a person can interact with. So just as a reminder, the check-in, check-out, this was capability released back in November. If you'd like more information on how a visitor can interact with those capabilities, I do recommend looking at some of the documentation. However, here looking at the Explore Workplace, this is really going to provide that entryway to looking at the map. So this map is totally configurable by the admin in the backend, and we'll get to that in a minute. But really the idea here is to show them a map with whatever information you would like them to have access to. Do you want them to only see certain locations? Do you want them to see the whole layout of a floor? Do you want them to be able to see the whole layout of your building? Do you want to limit it to only employees can see certain data, only visitors can see the reception and the waiting room? Really, this is totally configurable based on the needs and the way that you want to provide that data. So what we're looking at here is the floor 1 within my building. Because in my building A, I can see a general floor plan. I can see the every single space. So the way I've set it up is my visitor, really, they can see everything. They can search for everything. They can see specifically you are here. So this is exactly where the kiosk is located. So when I'm looking at this view right now, I am a visitor or an employee or a visiting employee. It's absolutely standing here. So I can see where the reception is. I can see where the waiting area is, and I can interact with these different locations. I can select any location, again, based on the way that the admin has set it up. They can take several actions. Right now, a visitor can select the room and can get directions to that room. They could easily type in the name of the room and get directions to that room. So if I type in, let's type in a different room. If I type in Brooklyn, I can't spell. Let me remove this. I'm looking for my the Brooklyn space. It's going to search for it. It's going to zoom in on it. It's going to see this over here. So what I can do is get directions. What's going to happen, it's going to pre-fill my starting location from the kiosk. So assuming I'm starting from this kiosk location and then going all the way over to this specific meeting room. And then in case if it was across different floors, I'd have the option here to say, do I want to use the accessible route, or do I want to use the route by default? These are configured within Map Studio, and that is just a way of saying if I am someone in a wheelchair, I might, or I'm going to prefer to use an elevator rather than using stairs. So that is really going to help me define and make sure the route that's offered is actually something I can use. Something else that can also be done is if I select a specific space, again, depending on the way that the admin has set this up, I could also raise a case. So it's very similar to what we've got on the location directory, having the option to raise a case directly from this kiosk mode. For now, this kiosk has been set up for the visitor, so I haven't allowed the option to raise a case, but we'll see when we go through the configuration exactly how that can work. And then last but not least, what I wanted to show you is the options here. I can select different ways of displaying the map. Of course, it's not working right now. Let me just refresh. So it's just gone back to that home page. So I'm going to have here the option to change my map displays. Okay, it's not working. So let's not spend too much time on that piece. We'll go to the configuration and you'll understand through the configuration how this can specifically work. So that was that is the way the map can be shown on the kiosk. Right now, we've moved on to the instance. So this is the instance. You're probably familiar with Workplace Central. Workplace Central is that central location where space managers, facility teams can actually manage their workplace by looking at different modules we have here. So we have space optimization, lease maintenance, case management. And what we've added with this release is a new module here, which is the kiosk indoor mapping. And this is really where your admin is going to be able to set up the different capabilities that will be available on the kiosk for your employee. So as I said, you can have multiple kiosks per location. Let's say you want to have within your first floor, you've got a reception. That's where your visitors will go. You want to make sure you've got a kiosk that's dedicated to their use. So you want to have the check-in, check-out option. You want to have the map option. You can detail all of that, but maybe on floor 2, only your employees have access there. So what you want to do is just provide a kiosk that shows the map. You don't want to check-in, check-out functionality. You just want to show the map, and you want to provide them with different filtering options to be able to visualize the data, similar to what we can do on the location directory. So what you can see here is within my organization, I have actually 2 different kiosks that are set up. The first one is specifically for the employee. So this one is on the 2nd floor of my building. And then I have my visitor kiosk, which is on the 1st floor. So the 1st floor of that same building. But the goal of that one is really to have it focused around the visitor experience. If I look down here, you can see I've got 2 different map configurations. So this is really around how can I configure the map and how can I configure the way that the people can interact with that map. The map that I was showing you on that browser is the default features. So I was only allowing that for my visitors. My visitors could only use the wayfinding capability. However, for my employees, so for the kiosk that's located on the 2nd floor, I've enabled them to use the wayfinding tool. I've enabled them to be able to raise a case. So raising a case either for themselves or raising on behalf of someone else. And then in terms of filtering options on the map, so how can my employee interact with the map in a similar way as a location directory? I want them to also be able to display the names of the people on the map. So really understand where someone's sitting, how can I find them, do that quick search and get the directions towards them? How can I enable them to, they want to look where's the finance neighborhood? They also want to take that quick action on the kiosk. I've enabled that for them. They can also filter based on space. So there's a lot of information on the map if they want to make it really simple for themselves. I'm walking throughout the location. I'm on the phone call, so I can't look at the phone on my map. I want to find where's the closest phone booth for me. I'm going to use the filter option here to say where the phone booth, so I can look at that information on the map. And then to make sure when I go up to that phone booth that it's actually available, I can then also display the reservation data. So is it booked or is it available? And then also if you have the Workplace Connect occupancy sensors, you also have the option of allowing employees to use that data on the kiosk. So saying, I'm walking across the hallway, I really need a phone booth. I want to see which ones are available and not currently occupied. So really providing them with that experience. So this was really the recap of what we released for the indoor mapping. Of course, there's a lot more to it and different ways of configuring it. So we'll definitely have a session dedicated to the kiosk configuration, and we do have a lot of documentation available. So having said that, I'll now move on to our next capability. So we're now moving on to map printing. So as I started off, map printing is something that is really focused around space planners. However, this has been made available throughout an organization. Maybe an employee wants to print a map, and maybe the facility team wants to print the map. Maybe the receptionist does not want to print it, but wants to export a map as PDF. So what we've done with this release is provide this option to print maps or export as PDF from two different locations. First location is the location directory, and then the second one is the map-based space administration. So really providing a new UI page where you can actually define on the map what you want to have shown, and then from there, be able to open up your browser printer to really define what landscape, what size of paper, do I want to export, do I want to print, how can I configure that, and then have that document printed. Use case for this could be not only a space planner wants to write on a map saying I want to adjust people, I want to change neighborhoods, I want to reorganize my location. It could also be I'm an employee, I'm a receptionist, I'm inviting visitors to my workplace. Before they show up, I want to give them kind of an overview of the layout of the building. I could just here define a couple of spaces, a couple of neighborhoods, and then maybe a direction on the map, and then export that as a PDF and include that in the email that gets out to my visitor. So to show more on that, I'm just going to hop into a instance to also show you that capability. So I'm just going to refresh to make sure we've got all the data valid. So the way I'm going to show you is first of all through the location directory. So how can I print a map from the location directory? So on the location directory, you probably, if you're using WSD, I believe this is one of the key features where you can do a lot in terms of that employee experience, reserve a space, get directions, raise a case, view the occupancy, get all of that information. However, if I'm a space planner or if I'm that person that wants to print the map, I want to be able to really define what I'm seeing on that map. So what I'll probably go through this feature now, but we'll also go through a slide later on. But we have made quite a few enhancements to the location directory. So location directory, we now have a lot of filtering options where I can actually select specifically what do I want to see on the map. So I could say I'd like to display my neighborhoods for this floor. I can also go down and say which ones do I want to see if I want to only see certain of them. So let's just say I want to see a couple of these. So I'm just creating my map as it's going along. So I can just select a couple of these. So I've got a couple of neighborhoods showing. I can also see the reservation status. Do I want to have that apparent on the map? So I can then also filter down on which kind of reservation status do I want to see. So really detailing, I only want to look at the available ones. Don't just give me the red and green. Just give me what spaces are available based on the different criteria I'm going to input. I could also from here only decide what different space types do I want to see on the map. So if I remove my neighborhood filter, if I just have them all, if I only want to see the meeting rooms, it's going to really narrow it down to only show the meeting rooms on the map. If I only want to see the desks, it's also going to just show me the desk. It's going to build the map as I want it to see. And with this enhancement, with this new capability we have in February, the good thing is if I then leave the page, if I go somewhere else, when I come back to my location directory, it's going to open up this map based on the last map I looked at, but it's also going to remember the filtering options I used throughout my last experience. So right now I've configured my map. I want to see this, and this is what I actually want to print. Let's just do, for the example, we'll do a direction from here to here. So we can see a small direction. And what I want to go ahead and do is use the small icon up here to print this map. So I want to have the possibility to print this or export it as a PDF. So I can then go and mark it, or I can send it to a visitor, send it to a colleague if they're not familiar with the workplace. I'm inviting Paulina and Maria to the office. They're not familiar with my location. They might want to understand how to get from the reception to the specific meeting room. So what I can do from here in this new UI page, what I can do is configure some of the items that are going to be shown around the map. I can't configure the detail, specifically the spaces that are selected. This is done prior to opening up this UI. However, what I can do here is really define, do I want to have a location pin on the map? Do I want to say, so here, this is the entrance, so they really understand this is the entrance, and then we'll be meeting in here, and this will be your assigned desk. I can change the text on this. And then I can also remove the background. So the background is actually is the outdoor OpenStreetMap, or if you have your own configured map, that will also help remove it. So it will be a white background. Moving on from this part, I can see since I had a direction, I have got the small information above here of how long it gets, and from the location, the start location to the end location, and how far that is. I can decide to keep it or remove it. I can say I want it landscape or portrait. I can decide my paper size, and then I can decide a certain amount of content on this page. Do I want to include a title to this page? So up here, I'll be able to easily type new floor 1, put it for instance like this. I can add a timestamp, so when is it being printed? When did I actually configure it for it to be printed, to make sure if I'm working on a space plan with a colleague that we are working on the same versions. So I can really check here when it's been printed. I can decide, do I want to include the legend? So it's going to show me really what is shown on the map. So if you've got small icons like this color coding, you might be familiar with it, but the team that's working with you on maybe the rework of the layout or the way you assign things might not be so familiar. So you can decide to show that, and you can also decide to show it on a separate page. As I have a direction here, it might make sense to keep the information, or I can decide to remove the information here. So I just want to remove the information of the small window, or I can remove it entirely. If I'm a space planner, what we've seen as a big use case, and this is really a customer request, and the way we added it is right now I'm seeing the names and the different icons. If I want to make it easier for me to make my adjustments, I can just remove it and have numbers, so random numbers that are put in an order to be able to really identify each of the spaces. So then I can say that spaces 1 through 6 are now going to be for another team. I can easily write around it and really understand the map. I also have more options if I continue down, so adjusting the size of the labels, adjusting the sizes of the icons. Everything can be configured here really to be able to print the map based on what you want to have. But the content on the actual map, in terms of what is going to be visible, in terms of icons, names, colors of neighborhoods, that is really configured before opening the UI to print the information. And then you can see here, I've got a lot of information. Sometimes it might not show because it might overlap. I can say, I want it to overlap. It doesn't matter. I want to see all the information. You can also do the same for the icon. It might overload the map, but if you want to have that option, you can definitely select that. So once you've kind of configured your map, what you're going to move on to next is your printer browser. So it's going to open up your usual browser that you're probably familiar with printing any kind of documentation, and you can know from here that you have the different options. So either to print or export this specific file as a PDF, and then select what specific pages you want. I just want the first page, and I have my usual, the common printing options that I have when printing any kind of document. I can then save it or print it based on what my intent is to do with this map. So that was it for the map printing capability. We're now going to move on to the next new enhancements. And I'll pass it over to Paulina to take us through the latest enhancement in terms of including Gen AI into our employee experience.
Thank you, Elizabeth. So for the analysis part, I would like to share some of the few main capabilities that you can achieve by using Now Assist. So one of them being speeding up the reservations, any service request, and guest management through a conversational interface. Another cool thing that you can do with Now Assist is that you can just input the reservation requirements, and the Now Assist will find exactly the room that you're looking for. So you don't need to know exactly what room you need in the workplace. You can just put the specifications that you need to see, and then it will provide the exact name of the meeting room or workspace that you're requiring. Another thing that you can do with Now Assist is that you can continue the conversation going, and you can also include services such as catering, but you can also add external guests to a reservation. So just like you would do it through the Employee Center, you can also do it through the Now Assist. I'm gonna go ahead and show a piece of a demo on the capabilities of Now Assist. Let me take over the screen, Elizabeth. There we go. Hope you all can see my screen. But as we are seeing here, the user opens the Now Assist chat, and it's just starting to type how they want to reserve a meeting room. And in this case, the user does specify what type of room they want to get. So they're saying, what is the location, what is the building, and then what is the time that they need the room for. So then the Now Assist will look into the request, and it will start providing some options. And then it will also confirm if what they're getting from the user is correct. So as you see on the screen, it says that they want to book a meeting room as a type of space, and then the date as well. And Now Assist will be sharing a confirmation on all the information that has been gathered. Once the confirmation gets settled, they will select the type of meeting room that they want available. So here they selected the room Aspen and the capacity for that same room. and the confirmation is done and the meeting room is booked. Now, this is another scenario where the user wants to book a workspace. So in this case, they're just saying, hey, I want to book a space in the office next Tuesday from 9 a.m. till 5 p.m. So basically, this means they just want to spend all day in the office and they just need a space to work from the office. So the Now Assist will provide certain options that are available for the user to book. So as we can see here, it's just looking into the reservation, confirming that the date is correct and the time is also correct. And it shows all the options that are available shortly. So as you can see, it shows all the options and then the user can just select whichever is most suitable and the confirmation is done. So these are a few things that you can do with Now Assist. Like I was mentioning, it's not extensive to that part. You can also add services, include catering, etc. So it's a really cool feature. And I'll pass it back to you, Elizabeth.
Thank you very much, Paulina. Just before we can move on to the next functionality, I saw a question in the chat to also look at the printing options from the map-based space administration capability. So as I mentioned, we have not only the option to print from the location directory, so to be able to visualize that data, we also have included the option to print directly from the map-based space administration within space optimization. So just to recap for everyone, within space optimization, we have two different views. We have one which is looking at scenarios, which is a what if I make different adjustments. And then we have the map-based space administration, which is really a snapshot of today. How is my organization laid out? How have I done my different allocations by neighborhood, by cost center? How have I assigned different people? I can visualize based on the different options here. So just to show you here, I have the different options to view by. Right now I'm looking at the department view, and I can see I've got several employees assigned, but I could also choose to view by neighborhood or by space function, and then also print the map in a similar way. So the option here to print the map, so I'm on floor 1 of building B, I have here the option to print. So if I just open the print option, it was taking a while, so I already opened a page here. So it's going to open up that same page. Oh, it's opened up a second one now. So it's opened up the same page. So with the option to print with the same information I had selected here on my map-based space administration view. So what I can do here is the same options of being able to view the different names. If I just move on to here, I can add the timestamp. I can add my different names. I can add the sizing of the logos, of the labels on it. But we would definitely recommend using the location directory map to have more clarity, more visibility on the information. This would be really in a specific use case for space planners. So space planners would mainly focus on this. So these are the people that have access to this tool within space optimization, whereas the location directory, every employee technically would have the right to be able to print from that location if you do enable it. So having said that, I'm now going to move back to our next enhancements and features. So back to the other capabilities we have within WST. Workplace reservation management is one of the main ones. And what we've done with this release is really enhance the way and simplify the way the event planner interacts with the system. So the event planner is an option within the Workplace Central, where a reservation manager can actually come and edit different reservations. So perhaps there's a VP that needs a meeting room urgently. However, all meeting rooms are being booked by several people. They might want to drag and drop, change meetings. They might see the next day the building needs to be occupied by a specific team, and they need to move all reservations from that building to another building. They might need to move forward or backwards some of those reservations. They can use this event planner to drag and drop those different reservations to be able to make those edits. So they have control over those different reservations. So what we've done with this release is provide more ease of use of ways that they can interact with this event planner. The first one, what we've done is now not only providing a way for the event planner to filter the different spaces that are available by a reservable purpose, but also showing them the option to filter based on the space type. So saying, I only want to look at meeting rooms, or I want to look at meeting rooms and desks. I might want to move some of the people that are in a large meeting room, a conference room, to a smaller meeting room. So being able to really have that flexibility of looking at different space types to be able to make those adjustments. What we've also done is enhance that flexibility by providing them with a way to drag and drop those reservations. And then if a specific space is a assigned to different reservable modules. So one space could be a desk, but it could also be a desk within a specific neighborhood. They can from there decide which reservable module rules will apply to this reservation. So they can easily bypass that and then have the new reservable module selected. So let's say I'm moving a reservation on a desk to another location that's got two reservable modules. I'll be able to, as the event planner, choose which reservable module will be selected. And then last but not least, we've got a new role that's been introduced. So not only for the space planner, we'll also see that it's available for the reservation experience on the portal. It's a new role which kind of helps them bypass some of the time-related settings set on the reservable module. So let's say I'm the event planner, I need to move a meeting around. However, the reservable module only allows for max days in the future to have that reservation made 2 weeks. I can bypass that. If it's limited in terms of time, the user is a specific role can bypass those rules to continue with the reservation. And we'll see that within the portal experience, so in the reservation portal, any user, it could be an event planner, it could be a specific user that makes a lot of reservation you want to entitle with this role, can also bypass some of those rules you're setting in terms of time-related settings. So max days in future, how many days can they, how many multi-days can they book? Everything related to time can be bypassed with this specific role. So having said that, moving on to the reservation management. So this is more for the employee interaction with the reservation portal, is providing them also with ease of use and simplifying the experience, removing some of the unnecessary clicks that they had to be able to make a simple reservation. The first one of these is really making it easier for them to define the time and date of their reservation. So previous to this, they had to set the start, end date, and then they had to actually figure out the time, and then sometimes the seconds were impacted. What we've done with this release is really separate date and time to provide that ease of configuration. And if an employee is only looking to book a space for a single day, if the system's only limiting to a single day, what they can do is only have the option of showing that date. So you won't have two different fields with the start and end date. It will just be on that date, so the 1 day reservation. And then they can easily start typing in to have the time appear and select from there, so making it easier for them. Another enhancement of what we've done in here is really providing them with the ease of being able to adjust easily the requirements they're setting to be able to make a reservation. So let's say I'm looking for a meeting room on a specific date, at a specific time. The system then looks for me for that room. I then decided to change my request. I don't want it on this specific date or at this specific time. Instead of having to previously go and click on refresh to make sure you have the right rooms that are showing that are available at that time, we used to previously have that banner saying, please refresh as you've changed your criteria. Right now, we removed that button, and this is auto-refreshed every time the criteria changes. So if I change the date, that it will refresh for me. If I change the time, it's going to refresh for me. And it's really going to provide me with that easier way of having that the room suggested to me. So removing some of those unnecessary clicks and facilitating that experience. Moving on to location directory, we touched upon this briefly when I showed you the map printing. So map printing is one, of course, of the enhancements within this release. We did come out in November last year with quite a lot of redesign of the experience, a new UI, an easier way, a bigger map, also the availability on mobile. What we've done with this release is even go even further with this and providing an easier way to interact with the filtering options. So having on the right side that panel that now helps me really identify specifically how am I filtering my information. But now we also have that parity on the card view. So when I switch from card view to map view, I have that parity of looking at those different filters. I also have the option of selecting those specific filters. If the organization does not have the map, I can easily use those same filters. So really providing me with an easy way to interact with a location directory, to search for a colleague, to search for a space based on what I'm looking for. And just to make it more interactive and a lot more user-friendly. So usually when I go to the location directory, I'm searching for a specific location. That's usually the location I work at or a location I'll be visiting. So what we've enabled is that workplace admin can actually define which campus should be opened for the user. Do they want to have the map open on the campus that is associated to the workplace profile assignment the employee is at? Or do they want to just leave it open and say, based on your last search, the last way you configured the map, the last map you opened in the location directory, that will be the default for you. We can really leave it up to the admin to define how the map should be shown to the employee. So this is a big enhancement based on our last release, because this really provides a way of, I'm taking the time to filter out different things. I'm taking the time to select a specific map and making sure it's the way I want to see it. This now is kept in memory and then is shown to you the next time you open the map. Moving on to more of the facility management capabilities. So looking at what a lease administrator would be interested in. This is really enhancing on the lease administration application we delivered 2 years back. And this is providing new tables, but also new fields to make sure we capture all the information related to leases. So the new tables we're including will help lease admins capture information on workplace contract clauses, on options and responsibilities, so they can really track that information within one central location. And then in the future, we're looking at enhancing this capability to really take action on this. But this will be shared more during one of our future roadmap sessions that we hope you will all attend. So this is really, as I said, in addition to what we have, more ways of tracking the data when you input any specific lease. Everything related to the lease will be in that central location within Workplace Central, so you can look back and make sure you have all of that data. And then the last one I want to touch upon is another enhancement in terms of reservation management, really for all of our customers using the Outlook integration. We're really looking at providing easier way to be able to connect in different ways based on the way organizations are set up. And a big request that came from a lot of you and a lot of customers in general is that ways for us to support personal authentication. So providing that extra step to be able to make sure we have that sync back to Outlook and WSD. With this release, we've delivered this for Microsoft Exchange Online, but we are for future releases also looking at delivering this for Google and other providers. So with this, what will happen is when an employee creates a reservation in WSD, what the system will look at is their valid token, yes or no. If there's no valid token, it's going to ask the user to actually sign in and then make sure that the reservation gets synced back to the calendar provider. And then same thing when it gets when it gets created directly in Outlook and then synced back to WSD. So this is really an extra step, and this is more configuration in terms of the workplace admin side. How are we setting up the experience for our users? So it's more of a backend security topic, which is dealt more by the reservation admin and the people setting up the experience. This will not have so much impact on the employee. So with that, I think this brings us to an end in terms of new capabilities and new features we've released. If you want to get more information on a lot of this, we do have the documentation site. We do have community. So as I said, we have a lot of content out there in terms of blogs, in terms of webinars that are happening, in terms of content of tips and tricks of how to configure any specific feature, in terms of understanding some of these features. And then we have Now Create, which also provides additional content in how to get started with some of the implementations of these applications.